So we have some more classic Super Nintendo games coming to Nintendo Switch Online service. Which games are they and when can we expect them? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we have the announcement here from Nintendo of America. 4 classic SNES titles are now live for Nintendo Switch Online members. Battletoads Double Dragon, Big Run, Cosmo Gang and the Puzzle, and the last one I'm probably going to butcher, Kunio-kun no Dodgeball Dayo Zen'in Shugo. I guess that'll be close enough. And we'll go down the list here and start with Battletoads Double Dragon, and this is a 1993 beat 'em up that was developed by Rare, and this was originally released for the NES but then later ported to both the Genesis and the Super Nintendo as well as the Game Boy. And this is the first time this game has gotten a re-release because it was not on the Rare Replay collection that was on the Xbox One. And in the game you can play as either one of the 3 Battletoads or play as Jimmy and Billy from Double Dragon. And it has 3 different play modes. It has a single player, and then it has a 2-player A mode where it has basically friendly fire, and then you have a 2-player B mode where you aren't going to be able to hit each other. And with the Nintendo Switch Online, you should be able to play this game online with your friends that also are subscribed to the service. And at the time of the release, the Super Nintendo version had pretty decent reviews. GamePro gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and EGM gave it an 8.2 out of 10. So this is definitely a decent beat 'em up from the Super Nintendo that you should try out. And next we'll take a look at that Japanese dodgeball game. I'm not going to try to keep pronouncing that because I know I'll butcher it. And this game was released exclusively for the Super Famicom back in 1993. And it was published and developed by Technos Japan Corp. And this is sort of, I guess, a sequel to a dodgeball game that was released on the Famicom. Basically the gameplay is real similar. And the game does have power-ups, the ability to level up characters, and create players and edit different teams. You can also purchase different items and power shots. And from what I can tell, it looks like the game has basically 3 different modes. You have a tournament mode, which seems to be the single-player mode, and then you have a versus mode where you can play one-on-one with someone else, and then a beanball mode. And this is basically like the versus mode, except there's no outfield players and the arenas are free roaming. Now the game has quite a bit of depth to it where you can create your own teams, and then it looks like once you create your team, you go face off against different teams from around the world. So you have like Japan, the UK, India, Iceland, China. Overall it looks like there's about 13 different countries, and then a Technos team and an all-star team. So definitely an interesting dodgeball game. If you liked Super Dodgeball, this might be something you want to check out. And next we have Cosmo Gang the Puzzle. Now this is one of those falling block puzzle type games, and it was released in arcades back in 1992, and then the Super Famicom port came along in 93. Now this is the 3rd game in the Cosmo Gang series. Now they're not all falling block games. So for example, the game before this was Cosmo Gang the Video, and this was a fixed shooter. Now when this game was brought to North America and European markets, it was actually reskinned as Pack Attack. Now what's interesting is that there's already an Arcade Archives version of this game for the Switch as well as for the PS4, and that was released just back in January of this year. Now the gameplay consists of the different block formations dropping down, and you're trying to complete an entire horizontal row. Now the catch here is there's also these aliens named jams that'll prevent your block row from completing. Now the way you get rid of the jams is to place a blue colored sphere on top of one of them, and it'll defeat any jams that's in the path. Now this game has both single player and a multiplayer option, so I assume that would work just fine with Nintendo Switch Online if you wanted to play with your friends. And this looks like an interesting puzzle game. Now it had some mediocre reviews. For example, from Mitsu gave it just a 28 out of 40. And there are definitely a lot of these block falling games that came out after the success of Tetris. So if you enjoy these kind of games, this might be something you want to check out. And finally, we have Big Run, which is a rally racing game, and it was released on multiple systems, including arcade as well as the Super Famicom version here back in 1989. And the game sort of uses a 3D effect, kind of like you would see in Outrun or say Rad Racer on the NES. And just like a rally racer, the game has a navigation system in the upper part of the screen that lets you know which curve's coming up, whether it be to the left or to the right. And the game had a pretty decent reception. In Japan, it was the 4th highest grossing dedicated arcade game back in 1990. So definitely a good selection of games coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service this month. You've got a beat 'em up, a racer, a puzzle game, and a dodgeball game. So let me know in the comments if you've played any of these games, which one you may like, which one you want to try out. Drop that comment below and let us all know. And if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching and be good.